players who I think are going to have to fit into a role. And so I'm going to take Sonia Citron. I think Sonia Citron is a great outside shooter. She's a great defender. She plays with so much poise. She doesn't crack under pressure. So I feel like whatever role you put Sonia in, she will be able to handle it, even if it is the biggest scale at FIBA World Cup. I think that's my 12. I think that's my 12.
Some choices don't require debate. Aya Wilson is the best player in the world, full stop. 3 MVPs, another finals MVP, Olympic dominance. There is no argument. Nafisa Collier has evolved into the league's most complete two-way force, carrying Minnesota deep into the postseason and finishing second in MVP voting. Breanna Stewart remains elite, even in disappointment. Jackie Young's versatility is essential to modern international basketball. Sabrina Ionescu provides spacing, shooting, and experience at the highest level. These 5 form the foundation. No controversy there. The tension starts with the 6th spot, choosing Kahleah Copper over Alyssa Thomas. That's where people stop listening emotionally and forget to look at context. Why Copper makes sense. Here's the reality most fans ignore. In the 2024 Olympics, Kahleah Copper played more minutes than Alyssa Thomas. That's not opinion, that's usage. The coaching staff trusted Copper's game more in international competition. Alyssa Thomas is extraordinary in the WNBA, a triple-double machine, a matchup nightmare. But international basketball is faster, wider, and more perimeter-oriented. Spacing matters. Shooting matters. Transition speed matters. Copper fits that mold. She stretches the floor, guards wings, and thrives in pace-driven systems. Age matters too. Alyssa will be 34 in 2026. Copper will still be in her prime. That projection isn't disrespect, it's realism.
At the team that was selected for the 2024 Paris Olympics, and the biggest news out of that was that Caitlin Clark was not selected for that team. And for the Paris Olympics, as you guys can see here, it's a lot of veteran players. It's even some legacy players, like Diana Taurasi actually didn't even play in that championship game, but she was still selected for Team USA. Now, again, I feel like that selection was not based on Diana Taurasi's skill. Now she has retired since then, but it was based on her.
To understand why this debate exists at all, you have to start with how the 2024 Paris Olympic roster was built. That team leaned heavily on legacy, not just performance, reputation. Diana Taurasi played 0 minutes in the gold medal game, yet she made the roster. That's not an attack on her greatness. It's a reminder of how Team USA has historically operated. Veteran presence matters. Past success matters. But that model only works when the timeline is short. FIBA 2026 is not around the corner. It's nearly 2 full seasons away. Between now and then, an entire WNBA season will unfold. Bodies will change. Roles will shift. Players who were dominant in 2024 may not be the same forces in 2026. Rachel's approach rejects reputation-based selection. She's evaluating what's real right now, not what used to be true. That's uncomfortable for fans who are emotionally attached to certain players, but it's the smartest way to project forward. Age doesn't negotiate. Injuries don't care about resumes. And international basketball punishes hesitation. Building a roster 2 years early forces you to prioritize sustainability, versatility, and trajectory, not nostalgia. This isn't about erasing the past. It's about refusing to let the past dictate the future.
Of course, I would include A'ja Wilson on my 2026 FIBA World Cup team. So A'ja actually won MVP at the 2022 FIBA World Cup. She also won MVP at the 2024 Paris Olympics. She just won the WNBA Finals last season. She won Finals MVP last season. She also won regular season MVP last season. Like, A'ja Wilson currently is the best player in the WNBA. She's the most dominant player, and of course I would be selecting her.
That brief pause before she spoke said more than the words themselves ever could. You could see it in her expression. She knew this take was going to irritate people, and she understood exactly why. Leaving Alyssa Thomas off a projected Team USA roster is not a casual opinion. It's the kind of statement that instantly ignites debate, divides fan bases, and floods comment sections with outrage. And yet, she said it anyway. What makes this conversation different is timing. Rachel isn't talking about history. She isn't debating legacies. She's constructing a 2026 FIBA World Cup roster. And she's doing it right now in December 2024. That matters because this isn't about what someone did 3 years ago or what their name represents. It's about evaluating players based on the evidence currently in front of us. That evaluation becomes even more relevant with Team USA's training camp happening this week at Duke University. Caitlin Clark is back, healthy, moving freely, and playing 5-on-5 basketball for the first time since her ankle injury. The environment is controlled, competitive, and revealing. This is where real assessments are made, not on social media, not through highlight edits, but on the court. The mistake most people are making is assuming this discussion is disrespectful. It's not. It's practical. When you're projecting 2 years into the future, sentiment becomes a liability. Rachel isn't asking who deserves respect. She's asking who gives Team USA the best chance to win in September 2026. And that's why this hesitation matters, because it signals a shift away from comfort and toward accountability. The moment you stop assuming certain names are automatic locks is the moment you start building a truly competitive roster. Whether people like it or not, this is the kind of uncomfortable honesty elite programs eventually have to embrace.
I'm going to take Kahleah Copper. Now, if I take Kahleah Copper, that means that I am not taking Alyssa Thomas. But if you do look at some of the statistics from the Olympic Games, Kahleah Copper was actually playing significantly more minutes than Alyssa Thomas. And yes, Alyssa Thomas in the WNBA, she is a powerhouse. She currently holds the record for triple doubles in the WNBA. She is like a brick house on offense and on defense. She's a Swiss Army knife. She can do multiple things when she's on the court. But Alyssa Thomas is nearing the end of her career, and I do think when it comes to international play, Kahleah Copper is a better fit. She can play the guard position. She can also sometimes move into that small forward position. And Kahleah Copper played significant minutes for Team USA. She put up decent numbers there, and I feel like she's just a better pick at this point in time.
That hesitation lasted less than a second, but if you were paying attention, it told you everything you needed to know. She paused because she understood the weight of what she was about to say. She knew this wasn't a harmless opinion or a safe basketball take. She knew this was the kind of statement that would anger fans, spark endless debates, and flood timelines with outrage. And she also knew that once those words left her mouth, there would be no walking them back. Leaving Alyssa Thomas off a projected Team USA roster is not something you casually suggest. Alyssa Thomas is a pillar of the WNBA, a former MVP, a defensive anchor, a playmaking forward who has redefined what versatility looks like at the professional level. To many fans, she feels untouchable, automatic, beyond debate. So when Rachel even entertained the idea of excluding her, it felt sacrilegious to some people. But here's the part most reactions completely missed. Rachel wasn't talking about respect. She wasn't questioning Alyssa Thomas's greatness. She wasn't rewriting history. She was doing something far more uncomfortable. She was projecting forward. Rachel is building a 2026 FIBA World Cup roster, and she's doing it right now, in December 2024. That context changes everything. This isn't about honoring careers. It's about predicting performance nearly 2 years into the future. And those are two very different exercises. This is where fans often struggle. Sports fandom is emotional by nature. We get attached to players. We build loyalty. We reward longevity. But elite roster construction doesn't operate on emotion. It operates on probability, trajectory, and fit. And when you start thinking that way, some sacred assumptions immediately fall apart. The timing of this conversation couldn't be more perfect. Team USA is holding training camp this week at Duke University, and for the first time in months, Caitlin Clark is fully healthy and playing 5-on-5 basketball. That alone makes this camp significant. Clark hasn't played competitively since her ankle injury sidelined her late in the WNBA season. Now she's back, moving freely, testing her conditioning, re-establishing rhythm, and reacclimating to elite competition. Training camps like this aren't about headlines. They're about information. Coaches aren't trying to impress fans or win social media debates. They're gathering data. Who moves well? Who recovers quickly? Who communicates? Who adapts? Who struggles when the pace increases? These camps quietly answer questions that box scores and highlight reels never can. And that's why Rachel's hesitation matters, because it signals awareness. She knows people don't want to hear this yet, but she also knows that pretending these questions don't exist only delays the inevitable. One of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Team USA is the idea that roster spots are purely merit-based in the moment. Historically, that hasn't been true. The 2024 Paris Olympic roster made that clear. That team was built as much on legacy as on current production. Veterans were trusted. Familiarity was prioritized. Continuity was valued over experimentation. That approach makes sense for a short-term tournament, but it becomes dangerous when extended too far into the future. The 2026 FIBA World Cup is not tomorrow. It's in September 2026. That's almost 2 full WNBA seasons away. Between now and then, the league will change. It always does. Players will age. Bodies will break down. New stars will emerge. Schemes will evolve. What works today may not work 2 years from now. Rachel isn't predicting what might happen. She's evaluating what has already happened and what trends suggest is coming next. That's a fundamentally different mindset from fans who are still anchored in 2024 outcomes. This is where Alyssa Thomas becomes a lightning rod for the discussion, because questioning her future role feels like questioning her value. But those are not the same thing. Alyssa Thomas is still elite today. There is no argument there. But international basketball is unforgiving. It exposes limitations more brutally than the WNBA does. The pace is faster. The floor is wider. Shooting becomes more valuable. Switchability matters. Lineups are shorter. Margins are thinner. When projecting 2 years out, you have to ask uncomfortable questions. Not who deserves this, but who still fits this version of the game. Not who has earned it, but who gives us the highest ceiling. Those questions make people uncomfortable because they remove sentimentality from the equation. And then there's Caitlin Clark, the other half of this conversation that quietly reshapes everything. Clark's presence at this camp is symbolic. It represents a shift. She isn't just another young player anymore. She's a proven professional. Her rookie season didn't just meet expectations. It exceeded them in ways very few players ever do. She didn't ease into the league. She bent it around her. Clark didn't just score. She controlled games. She elevated teammates. She dictated tempo. She forced defensive schemes to change. She dragged the Indiana Fever from irrelevance into playoff contention almost by herself. That kind of impact changes how Team USA has to think about its future. And that's why this camp matters so much. Because for the first time, the coaching staff gets to evaluate Clark not as a prospect, not as a phenomenon, but as a peer alongside the best players in the world in a controlled environment with nothing hidden. This is also why the early takes coming out of camp were so misguided. Caitlin looked rusty. Paige outplayed her. Jackie Young called Paige the best young player. All of that may be technically true in isolated moments, but none of it matters in the way people think it does. Training camp is not about dominance. It's about data, and rust is expected when a player is returning from injury and months away from competitive basketball. What would actually be concerning is if Caitlin Clark looked perfect immediately. That would suggest the competition level wasn't high enough. Elite environments are designed to humble everyone. No one is supposed to walk in and dominate, especially not after time off. The purpose of these camps is to push players to their limits, physically, mentally, tactically. Fatigue is part of the process. Mistakes are part of the process. Rachel understands that. Fans often don't. That's why her hesitation is so important, because it shows she's not reacting emotionally. She's not chasing engagement. She's thinking structurally. She's looking at timelines, age curves, and international fit. Leaving Alyssa Thomas off a 2026 projection isn't an insult. It's an acknowledgement of reality. By 2026, Alyssa will be 34. That doesn't mean she'll be bad. It means projecting peak performance becomes risky. Meanwhile, younger players are entering their primes, bringing skills that align more closely with the modern international game. This is how dynasties stay dominant, not by clinging to the past, but by anticipating the future. Team USA doesn't rebuild publicly. It evolves quietly, and conversations like this are part of that evolution, whether people are ready to hear them or not. Rachel paused because she knew she was stepping into uncomfortable truth. And uncomfortable truth is usually where the most honest analysis lives.